The next morning, the sun was high in the sky. Bright sunlight spread across the street. Jin Tae-kyung placed his stuff on the bed. He thought to himself, I've lived in this house for 7 years, and yet I only have one box of stuff. As he thought this, he turned his head to look at the item in the corner, the capsule. Jin Tae-kyung said to himself, now the logout feature has been upgraded, so I don't have to get into the capsule to log into the martial arts world. But I can't throw it away. This old capsule changed my entire life that day. If Jinho wasn't drunk, how could I have gotten into it? While he was thinking, a voice called from outside, are you going? Jinho opened the door and walked in. He asked, you made your initial deposit? Have you signed your contract too? Jin Tae-kyung nodded slightly and replied, I'll pack up after I'm done. Hearing that, Jinho burst out laughing. This guy is so fast. What about your family? Have they moved to a new house? Jin Tae-kyung shook his head. No, I'm keeping it a secret for now. I'll move there first. Then, when my sister finishes her university entrance exam, I'll tell her later. Jinho nodded in agreement. That's right. Now is the most important time. After he said that, the room fell silent again. I don't know how much time passed when Jin Tae-kyung suddenly called out, bro. Jinho coughed, as if he knew what was coming. He quickly waved his hand and said, okay. Don't ruin this atmosphere. I'll pack up this afternoon. Jin Tae-yeon was quite surprised. He asked quickly, are you moving too? Where are you moving to? Jinho scratched his face and replied, I'll live temporarily at an acquaintance's house. Where did you buy the house this time? It's in Goyang district, 30 minutes from here, so it's not too far, Jin Tae-kyung said. Hearing that, Jinho said right away, good, I'm also in that area. This made Jin Tae-kyung very happy. He asked quickly, really? So, we'll be able to see each other more often in the future. What's your specific address? While they talked, Jin Tae-kyung got a phone call. He signaled to Jinho and answered it. Ah, yes, you're here. That thing? No need. I'll carry it down myself. Yes. He hung up the phone. Then he poked his head in, smiled, and asked Jinho, I'll carry the capsule. Can you help me with the box? Hearing no response, Jin Tae-kyung quickly walked into the room. The room was now empty. No one was there. Jin Tae-kyung frowned and said, where did he go? The moving truck finished packing Jin Tae-kyung things and set off for the new house. The transport team struggled to carry Jin Tae-kyung capsule inside. It was very hard to get it to the living room. The transporters all sat down on the floor, panting. After resting for a while, they left. Jin Tae-kyung politely went to the car to see them off. He entered the house and plopped down on the sofa. He tilted his head back and looked up at the ceiling. Breathing heavily, he said quietly, Dad, I bought the house. The area where I used to live is gone, but this house is fine, right? Night fell quickly. Light from outside shone into Jin Tae-kyung's house through the glass door. He lay on the sofa, scrolling through his phone and muttering, after 12 hours, this vacation will end. He put the phone down on the table. Jin Tae-kyung lay straight back on the sofa and said, I have to go there before I get busy again. He wanted to log into the game. A notification screen appeared in front of him, do you want to connect to the martial arts world? Without thinking, Jin Tae-kyung chose yes. He lay on the sofa, ready to enter the game. Not knowing how much time passed, the capsule in the corner of the room suddenly made a strange noise. A human foot slowly poked out. This person let out a hum. It was none other than Jinho. He lifted his glasses and smiled happily. Is this my new home? Jin Tae-kyung logged into the game. He felt his forehead red and swollen. He grimaced and said, what is this? What happened while I was sleeping? As soon as he finished speaking, Jin Moo-kyung sitting next to him, said coldly, why were you sleeping? Didn't you say you were controlling your QI? Hearing this, Jin Tae-kyung stood up. He pointed at Jin Moo-kyung's face and said, yes, that's right. Why did you hit someone who was circulating their QI? Jin Moo-kyung turned his face away and said quietly, as a martial artist, you don't practice. You fall asleep. I saw you looking so weak, so I did that. Jin Tae-kyung cried out in confusion, so, a martial artist like you uses such a sneaky method to attack someone who is defenseless? Jin Moo-kyung replied. Then come down here and fight like a martial artist. Hearing this, Jin Tae-kyung quickly said it was pathetic. The mission was finished. He sat down right away. The carriage on the road was very bumpy. Hyuk Moo-kyung thought to himself, even if they are brothers, how could they be so similar? Even with that dirty personality? After sitting for a while, a mission confirmation message appeared in front of Jin Tae-kyung. The new mission said, now that the truth is out, the Manhwa sword sect is no longer your enemy. They are now an important ally you must get to know. Before the next summit, bring them to the Jin family of Taiyuan. The mission level was 1. The main mission, handing out invitations, was not complete. The reward was unknown. If it failed, there would be no penalty. Reading the mission, the Manhwa sword sect came to Jin Tae-kyung's mind right away. He remembered when Wei Pang asked, is it true you did something bad with the daughter of the Manhwa sword sect? This had always worried him. He leaned against the side of the carriage and bowed his head, thinking. Now everyone knew he was innocent, but back then, he was the criminal of the whole country. Lee Seo-gun, the man who used fake evidence to threaten the Jin family of Taiyuan, was poisoned on the way home. That was the start of everything. Even though it only lasted 1 or 2 months, he became a third-rate guy. His family fell, and then he became the sleeping dragon of Shangxi. Li Xiaowul, the woman whose name he once didn't know, was now the new leader of the Mount Hong Sword sect. When she got an invitation like a surrender demand, who knew how she would react? He really hoped she wouldn't stab him. Jin Taekyung frowned as he thought this. At that moment, the driver outside the carriage announced, "We have arrived at the province of Hunyuan." Even though it was night, the streets were still very busy. Lights were bright. People passed back and forth constantly. The air was full of energy. At a restaurant, lights shone brightly inside. Customers crowded in. Business was good. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the room. Jin Mukyung looked angrily to the other side and said, "How disruptive. If I had known this would happen, I would have just camped outside." "Let's go." While they ate, Hookkyung pointed at him and said, "No can do. We're traveling without any bodyguards right now, and the second family had told us to find a good place to stay." Mukyung slammed his hand on the table in anger. "Ha? My brother said that?" Then he set down his cup of drink and added, "Well, if my brother said it, I guess I'll have to listen." Ahem, hearing all this, Jin Taekyung thought to himself while eating, "Guess he can't stand up to Jin Waikyung at all. I should have been his older brother." Then he turned to Hookkyung. "You know, this place looks pretty expensive. Are you sure it's okay?" Hookkyung replied with excitement, "Of course. This will be the place where the young master of the Jin family from Taiyuan stays. I had to pick the very best." Jin Taekyung looked at him in disbelief. "Really? Then, thanks." Suddenly, Jin Taekyung was attacked. A strong force from behind pressed his head hard into the bowl of soup in front of him. It happened so fast that soup splashed all over Hook's body. Jin Mukyung reacted quickly and grabbed a tray from the waiter to cover his face, avoiding the soup. When people around saw this, they turned to look and whispered, "What was that?" At this moment, a person from behind said, "Oh my god, my hand slipped." Jin Taekyung's whole face was now wet with soup. He rolled his eyes and turned to look back. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Who are you guys?"